Hey, this is Warren Redlick. I posted this video recently and got a lot of criticism. So I'm going to make this video discussing a variety of different criticisms. There are groups of criticisms that go together, and there was a lot of individual criticisms that I thought were very insightful. So I'm going to go through some of that. And the first part of this video will be available to everyone, but following the boss, the full video will be available to people who are YouTube channel members, who are subscribers on the X platform, or who are paying supporters on the Daily Lie or Patreon. So if you want to watch the whole video, please become a supporter in some way on one of those platforms. Otherwise, I think you'll still find this fun to watch. Are you ready? Let's go. So one of the criticisms that I find the least useful is somebody will just say something like dude is a nut job, or be realistic. That's very unlikely. And these $300 trillion valuation questions are going to come up again in a different context. But I have a response to a lot of these comments. It's like, well, what part of the analysis is incorrect? The analysis is Tesla will have this many robo taxis generating this much revenue, this much gross profit, and that's a 25x or whatever on the. So if it's $500 billion in gross profit for 10 million robo taxis in 2030, that's a 25x on gross profit in the last 3 years. So 25x, pretty straightforward. And there's a lot of growth from there. So it's reasonable to see a high PE ratio on a company that's got 25x gross profits being 25x its current share price. And then you take it further and you say, well, what if there's 100 million robo taxis and they're only making $20,000 a year a piece? And well, that's $2 trillion. And then what happens with Optimus? And I have Optimus models, and that leads to these very, very high valuations. It's napkin math. There are valid criticisms. I'm going to address them later in this video or in the full video for people who are paying supporters. Generally speaking, when I ask the question, what part of the analysis is wrong, I don't get an answer. People don't have an answer. They don't like it. Something bothers them about it. We did get an answer here. What part of the analysis is incorrect? Even if the analysis was 100% accurate, you're not taking account all of the macro and micro things that could take place by 2030. Okay, so now it appears that the analysis might be correct. And a few years ago, your prediction was 30 million cars a year based on a $25,000 car that got scrapped when Elon flipped to robo-taxis. Well, yeah, things change. And I addressed that at the end of the video. I talked about some things that might happen. And I agree that there are many things that get in the way. And there are also things that could accelerate it, like what if we have artificial general intelligence or artificial superintelligence? But the 30 million cars a year by 2030, well, we're not in 2030 yet. That's not wrong yet. I think that we may see a very, very rapid ramp up of cybercab production and other robotaxi production by 2030 once the robotaxi network becomes live. And I'll talk about that later. There was a lot of this. What part of the analysis is incorrect? I stopped watching YouTubers that unashamedly mega pump Tesla. It ruins any credibility. A 75x is totally stupid. 300x and you put in the realms of the completely moronic. Get out of your bubble where you're constantly trying to outdo each other on future evaluations. Look, and I just said, what part of the analysis is wrong? And then sensible estimates should be based on realistic world knowns. He had this list of things that we need to know. We need to know how much will a taxi cost? How much will the charging cost be? The cleaning cost? We have a very good idea of all these costs that he mentions. And he mentions, this is going to come up later, but a sensible checksum is the market cap of the world is $111 trillion. Why is that? What was the market cap of the world 20 years ago? What was the market cap of the world 10 years ago? Are we expecting it to not change? Are we expecting it to not grow? Is there a reason why a company can't grow so large that the world, because if Tesla grows to $300 trillion market cap and you just have the rest of the world stay at 100 trillion, well, then we got a $400 trillion market cap for the world. That's not a limit. Then this is something that comes up a lot when I get criticism like this. Well, what's the first principles thinking there? And it's basically like, if you know Elon, SpaceX, Tesla, it's like, well, that's not possible. Why isn't it possible? What's the law of physics? What's the law of economics that says that's not possible? That just doesn't sound anywhere close to reasonable sound. And look, I agree, it's probably unlikely for a variety of reasons, but it's not impossible just because it's a large number. It doesn't work like that. It's like saying, well, you can't, reuse rockets because, I'm I'm Thunderfoot, and it's not possible to reuse rockets because of blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden they reuse rockets. Well, it turns out it is possible to not only do it, but to do it economically and recover a booster over 20 times and keep using it. The things that you said were impossible can often turn out to be possible. I'm not saying it is possible. I don't know of a reason why it's not possible. And the people who come up with this criticism don't have an answer. We've got 75x is an insane number, not even mentioning 300. It's insane numbers. So there's a lot of criticism that's just sort of like that. Just those numbers are just too big. That's not satisfactory. Sorry, that doesn't work for me. And I just wanted to point out here, other companies will grow, especially NVIDIA. NVIDIA is a $3.5 trillion company now. By the way, NVIDIA was an $8 billion company 20 years ago. NVIDIA was an $8 billion company 20 years ago. NVIDIA is a $3.5 trillion company today. That's more than 300x. So here we go again. The market cap of all public companies in the world is just over 100 trillion. World GDP is just over 100 trillion. GDP is the wrong measure. I'm going to be addressing this again later. Very common mistake. And what was the market cap of all companies 20 years ago? Like, why is this a limit? Like, who thinks that the world market caps of other companies aren't going to grow? That doesn't make any sense. It's just like it's like an empty criticism. There's no cap. There's no physical barrier. There's no law of economics that says one company can't be 3/4 of world market cap. If that was what was going to happen, there's no law that says that world market cap can't grow really fast. If a company like Tesla is growing really fast, if NVIDIA is growing really fast, if OpenAI goes public and they grow really fast, there's a bunch of companies that could grow really large in the future, and world market cap could grow a lot. And we could see great macro news. Maybe Donald Trump does a great job as president. All these things come together and the economy grows a lot. I don't see what's stopping that. I'm not saying there isn't something that will stop it, but I don't see what that thing is, and you haven't given it to me in your criticism. Some of these are random criticisms. You were hilariously and confidently wrong when talking about how the Model 3 Highland refresh didn't exist and Tesla was not working on it. So they did refresh the Model 3, and I did say that they weren't going to refresh the Model 3. I got that part wrong, but Elon agreed with me that Highland isn't real. It's not the correct name. It's a name that people threw at it. Maybe Tesla adopted the name afterwards because so many people were calling it that. But I've talked to quite a few Tesla employees at Tesla stores, and they don't call it Highland. Then they call it the new Model 3. Jeff Song, this is so funny. The guy says he works at the company. I work at Tesla and was bullish saying, I think talking about these price targets and timelines like an absolute certainty. I never said any of this was an absolute certainty. This is napkin math. The end of my video, I offered some potential issues that might be problems for the model and reasons why it wouldn't grow that large. $300 trillion market cap by 2032. Yeah, okay. What's the physical limit? What's the law of economics that prevents that? Feel free to pin my comment. We'll see how it ages. I'm not pinning your comment. I don't know whether you really work at Tesla. I don't know what your role is at Tesla. What are you on the assembly line? Are you a corporate executive? I don't know what position you're in to be able to say that. So, we don't know who this guy is or whether he's credible or not. But it's just sort of like I don't like it. And taking this shot at me while you were wrong about Highland. I wasn't wrong about Highland. I was wrong about the Model 3 refresh. By the way, I don't think I was really wrong in this sense. I predicted, based on the Model S and Model X refresh, that refreshing Model 3 wasn't going to increase sales significantly, and I was correct. Model 3 sales have not gone up significantly. Refresh didn't work. It doesn't work. That's not what Tesla needs to do going forward. I think there are good reasons why they refreshed, and maybe it held on to sales. There may be some other value to it, but the amount of money and time they invested to refresh the Model 3 versus the gain that they got from it, I'm not confident it was the right decision. I don't think I'm smarter than Elon. I don't think I'm smarter than the Tesla team. They probably know what they're doing. I'm confident that they do know what they're doing, but the Model S and X refresh didn't really work out. And as far as I can tell, even though the Model 3 is great, and I think I own a Plaid Model X. I've driven 44,000 miles in a Plaid Model X. I think it's fantastic. I think the new Model 3 is fantastic. But if it's not selling in high volumes, then was it really a good business decision? I don't know. I'm not saying it wasn't a good business decision. I'm just saying we don't know. And I don't know that I was wrong about that point, that whether maybe it wasn't really the right investment. I don't know. This is one of the more intelligent criticisms. Your analysis claims a $100,000 price for the bot, but Elon has publicly stated they will sell for $20,000 to $30,000. That shouldn't affect your numbers because Optimus owners will have to subscribe to a skill. If they needed to do welding, they download and subscribe to the welding skill. So yeah, Elon says a lot of things. We don't know what the pricing is actually going to be for Optimus. You know, Elon said that the Model 3 would be a $35,000 car. It isn't. He can say whatever he wants to say about the price of the bot will be. They had a price for a semi. I don't think they're really going to sell semi for the price they originally said. So will it be $100,000 price for the bot? It doesn't really matter whether it's a price for the bot. It matters how much revenue, this, to his point, it matters how much revenue the bot generates for Tesla. It can generate revenue in entirely different ways. Tesla could maintain ownership of the bots and lease them out on an hourly or daily or weekly basis. And that might generate $100,000 or more in revenue. That was the idea there. It wasn't, you know, when you're doing napkin math, you make really simple assumptions and then you play with it. So my robotaxi model is Tesla owns 10 million robotaxis. I expect Tesla to have a whole lot of other things going on when they own 10 million robotaxis, and I exclude all of that from my numbers and still come up with crazy numbers. Same thing with Optimus. My numbers are like, well, here's what Optimus generates, and I'm forgetting about robotaxi, and I'm forgetting about, you know, making cars and energy and all these other things. So it's just when you're doing napkin math, you make it super simple, and then you can come up with criticisms. And I think his point is really fits with my idea. I was just coming up with a simple model. What do you think of it? So for those who are watching this who are not paying supporters, subscribers, YouTube channel members, whatever, I'm going to end this video here. There's about 60-70% more to come in the next part of the video. So please consider subscribing, supporting me on the various platforms, as a subscriber on X.com, as a YouTube channel member, on the Daily Live, warrenredlink.locals.com, or on Patreon. And also please check out the t-shirts at elonbits.com. Thank you so much for watching.